Hello everybody, I'm sorry this video is a little late. Hope you all enjoyed your 4th of July weekend. I know I did. I had a little too much fun 4th of July weekend, but I had fun nonetheless. Yeah, this one's coming a little bit late. I got busy with work, and I ended up having to play Cat Chaser because, you know, my parents' neighbor's cat didn't have his dick cut off, basically, and my parents have baby kittens running around their yards now. You know, when Bob Barker says spay and neuter your fucking pets, he means it. It's great advice. Do it, and it's very considerate towards your neighbors. Because, especially cats, because they're free-roaming little douchebags that do whatever the fuck they want. So, yeah, I had to chase down some kittens this week, help my parents out there, but other than that, I'm good to go now, and this will be my video. I've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to try and get through it as fast as I humanly can. First of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about TNA. Saw Impact last week. I thought Impact was good, actually. I thought it was pretty solid. The X Division stuff was really well handled, and Sabin's victory over Aries was pretty much the first significant victory he's had. I mean, it's obvious. It's been obvious from the start, once they brought Sabin back, that they were going to give him a big push. I mean, they gave him the video packages and everything like that. It was just obvious that they were going to run with him as part of a main event program with Bully Ray, especially leading into this Destination X special. But they hadn't really given him any truly significant wins. Yeah, he won the X Division title, but that's not... You know, I mean, that's sort of like what I talked about in the WWE. It's kind of like beating Chris Jericho. It's, you know, whatever. I mean, the X Division title doesn't mean that much these days. So, the win over Aries felt like a big deal, though. So, that was at least something. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the Bully Ray Chris Sabin title match at the Destination X TV special. It's a lot more interesting now. And Sabin feels at least a little bit more on that level, getting up to that point. I still wouldn't put the title on him, but that's just me. They might, though. I don't know. Kind of throws my entire Bound for Glory predicted card into the trash can now. But, you know, it is what it is. So there's that. I also really like Mickie James's promo, the one on the ladder. I thought that was a really good promo on her part. I don't know. I really dig in her new character. The Bound for Glory series continues to be entertaining and at least provide meaningful matches on TV. And again, you know, wins and losses actually matter, so I actually have a reason to be invested in these matches. So, and that's the basic enjoyment I get out of the Bound for Glory series every year. So, there's that going on. But as much as I liked Impact last week, I do have to say that in the course of the weekend while hanging out with friends, we thought it would be a great idea to check out Hardcore Justice 2, one of their one-night-only pay-per-views. Why do they call them one-night-only if they've showcased the entire month? I mean, they play the entire month. You can order it pretty much any time for the rest of the month. So how is it one night only? And how is it Hardcore Justice 2 if you've done, like, 4 of them, I think? I don't know. It's stupid. The only reason I'm bringing up this pay-per-view is that I have to say, it was not only bad, it was stunningly awful. I mean, I haven't given a truly negative pay-per-view review in a long time. I mean, WWE's mostly been okay this year. TNA, they've reduced their pay-per-view schedule, so there isn't that much to talk about. And most of their shows have been okay or solid. The Chikara show I was kind of down on, but even that one wasn't, like, you know, so bad that I would rant and rave and, you know, curse it from the heavens. I was at Ring of Honor's WrestleMania weekend show, and that was an awesome show. I loved the hell out of that. WrestleMania itself was enjoyable, just mainly because I was there. The show itself was probably only okay, but, you know, being there live made it awesome. So I haven't really given a truly just passionately hate-filled pay-per-view review in a long time. And I'm not going to go over the whole card. There's no point to, because it's almost all fucking bad. The ladder match was solid, and there was a 6-man tag with Hardcore Holly that was okay-ish. Other than that, there's the show was just fucking awful. I mean, it was, I don't know no other way to describe it. It just felt like they were going at half speed the whole night. It felt like they brought back every pathetic scrub they possibly could to fill out this card, and it just fucking sucked. I mean, it was an awful, awful, awful pay-per-view, and the only like good things I can throw its way are it's like, well, it's one of those nothing pay-per-views that nobody will care about anyway. Nobody saw it, so and probably nobody's going to see it, so it doesn't really matter. But the show was really fucking bad. It was really, really fucking bad. The main event especially, I've seen TV matches that were better than that. I mean, Jesus. Tap dancing Christ. It was just laughably terrible. It was it felt like a show that TNA just did not give a shit about, and they just threw whatever shit up there they possibly could, and everybody just kind of went at half speed, except for the ladder match, and it just fucking sucked. It was an awful, awful pay-per-view. So if you want to waste the $15, I mean, I'm not even that mad because I split with 5 other people, so I only spent $3 on the whole thing, but it was laughably terrible. I was stunned by how bad it was. Not that I was expecting it to be good in the first place, but wow, it was really bad. But yeah, there's that. But going back into something that's actually good, I did want to talk a little bit about Raw. The Wyatts are fucking awesome. I gotta say that their debut segment was awesome. That was really well handled, and I really liked all the creepy vignettes that they did going into the house and everything. Don't stray, don't stray. And their entrance was great with the lights going out, and they come out with the lantern, and Bray Wyatt sits on the rocking chair and watches the other two guys beat the shit out of Kane, and the poses they did after they beat the shit out of Kane. It was just all really, really well done, and I think this gimmick is off to a great start. I think that you can chalk this up. All right, that was a pretty awesome debut. Now you can start planning out what they're going to do next, who they're going to feud with, what their role is going to be, and just mapping it out for the future. And there's plenty of great things you can do with characters like that because they're engaging, they're interesting. They go against the norm, which is what I really love. And that's the positive influence that CM Punk has really had on wrestling since the pipe bomb promo and everything. He finally got that significant push. CM Punk has really opened the door for guys that don't fit the WWE mold. Guys like Daniel Bryan, even though Daniel Bryan had been there before that. Guys like Bray Wyatt, who doesn't look like the type of guy that Vince would normally pick up, but they've given him this really strong character and allowed him to showcase himself, and he's different from everybody else. And I love seeing that. I love seeing different styles. I love seeing, not everybody has to be a chiseled athlete, and not everybody has to be a tall giant. There's room to play around with it, and Bray Wyatt's got kind of that old school, thick body, like who am I thinking of? Like a Stan Hansen type, I guess. But yeah, he's got that kind of body to him, and he's great on the microphone already. His promos are fantastic, and this character that they've carved out for him and the stable as a whole is just really, 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 really good. Like I said, I mean, you can compare it to so many different things. A little bit of House of a Thousand Corpses, a little bit of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a little bit of Deliverance, a little bit of... my vibe, I get like Max Cady from Cape Fear. I definitely get that feeling. It's kind of like basically this gimmick, Bray Wyatt especially, it's basically Waylon Mercy fully realized. And Waylon Mercy was a gimmick that had a lot of potential that unfortunately didn't really go anywhere. But this is that like taken to the extreme and done really, really well. And hopefully they continue to be really, really good. And the debut was very, very strong. And I look forward to seeing what they do next. Because, sky's the limit with them. I can't praise that gimmick enough. What I will bash is the fucking crowd for chanting Husky Harris. And the crowds have been really... bad lately in both companies, WWE and TNA, just really awful crowds. And obviously this isn't WWE's fault. I'm not going to blame them for this. Why the fuck were you chanting Husky Harris during this segment? I mean, they create this character, this stable, that's legitimately engaging and interesting, and you decide to chant the name of a former gimmick at him. Why? And this show was in Baltimore, Maryland. I didn't go to it, in case anybody's wondering. I could have, but I was... There's no way I would have gotten back in time and gotten a good night's sleep and gotten up for work the next day. So I was like, yeah, that's a really bad idea. But I'm glad I wasn't, because I probably would have smacked somebody in the crowd and been arrested. Because it's just like, what enjoyment do you get out of chanting Husky Harris during that debut? Okay, you know wrestling's fake? Is that what you're telling us? Oh, you have access to Wikipedia, so you know, like, what gimmicks this guy played before? I don't see the point in that. And even a lesser character like Tensai, what, you chant Albert at him? Why? Okay, you know he played Albert over a decade ago. Good for you. Okay. WWE's acknowledged that this is not a different character. They've acknowledged that he was Albert and A-Train before. So I don't know why you chant that at him. Granted, of course, if they didn't chant that at him, you'd hear no noise during one of his matches. But even so. Stuff like that just really annoys me. And these so-called smart fans that just go out of their way to, I guess, prove they're smart, when in reality they're just dumb, because it's like you're not willing to let kayfabe work. I mean, come on. I mean, I had forgotten about Husky Harris, so I was like, what the fuck are they chanting? I don't even know what that is. I had completely forgotten about it, and I hope to God this doesn't actually take off and become a thing, because if it does, and the Wyatts are ruined because of it, I will be severely pissed. And, sometimes, I guess this is a case of the fans are so smart they're stupid. It's like, yes, wrestling is fake. Yes, they have the same guy play multiple characters at different points in his career. I'm fully aware of these things. I'm willing to invest myself in the Bray Wyatt character and the Wyatt family as a whole. Don't try to ruin it for me. It's legitimately a great character. Don't you want more of this? It's just annoying. And that's why Joseph Park is so strange in the reactions he gets, because one of the reasons I thought that gimmick was going to be a complete and utter failure was because I thought they're just going to chant a piss at him because fans are morons and they want to prove that they're smart, and for whatever reason they've gone along with it on that one. I don't know. That one's a weird one. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad they did and they let the character stand on its own, but I'm just surprised they didn't deliberately go out of their way to shit on it. But yeah, the Wyatts, very strong debut. Fuck you, fans. Fuck you, fans that were in attendance that night and started that damn chant. And if this becomes a thing, I'm going to be royally, royally pissed off. But I think the Wyatts have a lot of potential. Their debut came off really, really well, except for that one thing. But here's hoping for great things for them in the future. What else? The not-so-good part of Raw was the Vicky Guerrero job evaluation. First of all, whose idea was it to have Vicky Guerrero climb a ladder at the start of the show? I mean, she looked uncomfortable doing it. And I'm watching it myself sitting at home going, this looks like a disaster waiting to happen. If she falls, I swear to God, if she falls. And she may have been wearing high heels. I didn't look, but I was like, is she in high heels? I don't know. I hope not. And that's... it just made me fear for her life, if anything else, and I don't understand the point of having her do that. And then they do this entire segment with the McMahon family. Let's ask the WWE Universe. Let's have a poll, and let's have Triple H browbeat her again. Let's have Stephanie McMahon browbeat her again. The same thing they've been doing for what feels like a month. All just to fire her, and I'm just like... Who cares? I don't care. And I've said this before. I don't give a fuck who is in charge of the show, because ultimately the show stays the same. Yes, Vicky Guerrero is horrible on the microphone. Her voice is annoying. I mute the TV whenever she speaks. So yeah, having Brad Maddox in that spot will at least make the segments more bearable. But the actual format of the show is not going to change just because a new guy's in charge. It's going to be the exact same thing. Backstage segments setting up matches, two guys brawl in the ring, and the boss comes out and makes a match, and they'll make matches on the fly, whatever, and depending on whatever storyline they want to tell, it'll either be horrible booking or solid, brilliant booking. I love that when AJ was GM. It's like, oh my God, those four guys were brawling and she made a tag match. Ha-ha, she's brilliant. Jerry Lawler, it's great. It's going to be great. Worst imitation ever, but fuck him, he doesn't deserve a good imitation. he's horrible at his job, okay? But that's what it's going to be. Whenever they switch GMs, and I just... At this point, who gives a flying fuck who's in charge of the show? Again, I've said this before. Go back to the Jack Tunney days, of where we just have a guy who settles disputes and controversies when they need to be settled, and Don't have him favor the faces. Don't have him favor the heels. Just have him make fair decisions when his presence is needed. And no, I'm not going to sit there and question where the fuck these TV matches come from. And that's another thing. Like, the process of matchmaking is not compelling television. I mean, the 3 Money in the Bank singles matches that they did on Raw this week, if they had just announced those matches at the start of the show instead of having Vicky come out and stand on a ladder and do that whole bit to announce them all, if they just had the commentary team, it's like, all right, we got these matches lined up for you tonight, boom, 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 boom. I wasn't going to sit there and question where the matches came from. Okay, I don't sit there and question where the goddamn matches came from. It's like the NFL. If I get the season schedule and I look it over, I'm not going to sit there and go, where the fuck did that game come from? What happened there? It's like, I don't care. That's the game. I just take for granted that they make the games and there's a reason why they exist. I don't need to know or see the entire process of making these fucking matches. And so, no, I don't care that Brad Maddox is the new GM. No, I don't care that Vicky Guerrero has been fired. If anything, it just made me feel sorry for her character because she's just getting abused and humiliated by the McMahons for no reason that I can see. And you have this really long, drawn-out segment where the McMahons don't agree on Vicky Guerrero, blah, 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 and the storyline that I do not give a flying shit about is going to continue, blah, 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 blah. Power struggle between the McMahons. Don't give a fuck. So, lessen their TV time, please. All right, you got rid of Vicky, that's fine, whatever. Just drop the GM crap, because I just don't... I don't need to see power struggles on TV. But let's focus on the wrestlers. Basically, that's what I'm asking. Let's make stories, revolving around the wrestlers themselves and the talents, the ones that deserve to be focused on. And all these power struggle authority figure angles are just fucking horseshit. And it's just repetitive cliche and boring at this point. And that segment on Raw was absolutely painful. I actually watched most of it on mute, and I started reading... I found this comic strip online called JL8, which is basically the Justice League if they were 8-year-olds going to school together, and it's really adorable and hilarious. And I was like, wow, this is more entertaining than what the fuck. I'm sure it is. I'm watching this shit on mute, and I'm sure I'm not missing anything, but Batman is an 8-year-old. That's hilarious. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, just cut that shit out. But I guess that'll lead me into what I guess I should talk about. There's a pay-per-view coming this Sunday, Money in the Bank. I'll go over the full card. There's really only 2 matches I really want to focus on in any kind of significant way. But going over the whole card, all right, we got the pre-show match, The Shield versus the Usos for the tag titles. I might actually watch that pre-show match because it's the fucking Shield and I like the Shield. I wish it wasn't the pre-show match because I care way more about that match than most of the undercard, but, okay. I like that, we all know the Shield is awesome, but I like that they actually took the time to make the Usos look like they legitimately belong in this match. It's like, oh my god, yeah, they beat other teams and move their way up the rankings to get a tag title shot. It's very basic booking, but I'll take it. At least I'm not sitting there questioning, like, how the hell do the Usos get a title shot? It's like, no, they won a series of matches and built themselves up to that point. So, huzzah! #1 contenders made. I think the Shield is going to win, especially since it's a pre-show match. I see no reason to take the titles off of them at this point. We got the Divas title, AJ versus Caitlyn in a rematch. I guess I'll pick AJ to retain, although I could see Caitlyn winning it because of something that I think is going to happen in the world title match. I think Del Rio's going to win the world title, or retain the world title, because AJ and Langston are going to screw Ziggler. I think that's going to happen. That'll then build into SummerSlam. And AJ losing the Divas title might be the genesis of that, because it's like, oh, you didn't help me retain the Divas title, so she comes out and screws him out of the world title. So, but regardless of whether AJ loses the Divas title or not, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Langston is going to cost Ziggler the world title there, and that'll probably build into a mixed tag or something at SummerSlam. So, okay, that's the world title. What else is on there? There's the IC title match, Curtis Axel versus The Miz. Don't really care all that much. Curtis Axel is going to win, obviously. This match is basically just an excuse to get him on the card. Then we got the first Money in the Bank ladder match, the World Heavyweight title one. I assume this is going to open up the show. Well, not the World Heavyweight title match, but the ladder match for a shot at the World Heavyweight title. Nobody in this match I feel is like that well built up, so everybody's kind of coming into this match as a blank slate, because it's mostly guys like, okay, it's Wade Barrett, who was a jobber as IC champion and had like one of the worst IC title reigns ever because he never won. I mean, it was basically a jobber belt while he had it. Damien Sandow, love the guy to death. I have a big fucking man crush on Damien Sandow. But he's been a jobber. Cody Rhodes, same thing. He's been a jobber. Antonio Cesaro, he's been directionless. He's paired up with Zeb Coulter now, but where's that going to go? Jack Swagger, yeah, he had been in the WrestleMania World Heavyweight title match, but they've already done this with him winning the Money in the Bank and giving him the world title, and it didn't work. So I wouldn't be a fan of them doing that again. And then there's Fandango, who I love. I see a lot of potential in the gimmick, but he's kind of a blank slate right now. He's not fully established yet. So nobody's really coming into this match with like a whole lot of like really strong build-up going into them. So my mindset is, all right, whoever wins this thing, they've got to build them up with the briefcase going forward, although that's never really... they're never inclined to do that. It's like I've said before, one of my problems with Money in the Bank is that they use it as an excuse to not build somebody up. But man, if I were going to pick a winner, and I didn't mention him, but I would give it to Dean Ambrose, because he's the only one that I think has any kind of build-up, even if it is just part of the faction of the Shield. Me personally, I would give it to Ambrose because... the idea of the Shield with a Money in the Bank briefcase, that just makes them more dangerous, and I find that really fascinating. And yeah, it's the world title, it's not as important, but even so, it's I think there's more possibilities in giving the Money in the Bank briefcase to the Shield. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And they would probably, instead of waiting for the champion to get beat up, they would probably jump him backstage, drag him out to the ring, and then cash in. That'd be really interesting if they did that. But me personally, I would give it to Ambrose, but I think they're going to give it to Wade Barrett, because Wade Barrett is somebody they've always seemed high on, and they keep wanting to get to that world title level, but never quite got him there, and I think this will be their excuse to do that. So I'm going to pick Wade Barrett to win that. And I believe that leaves just the two big matches I wanted to talk about. John Cena versus Mark Henry for the WWE Championship. And I just love that after Mark Henry literally cuts the promo of the year with all that emotion and all that, the crowd's just going nuts for him, and he does that turn after the promo. Really great segment. The story for the match has now become, can John Cena AA Mark Henry? It's like, well, gee, I don't know. I don't know if John Cena can lift that much weight. It's not like there's a precedent for him doing that. It's not like he's ever been able to lift that much body weight before.
Just flatten the Rough Rider, and look at Cena! Cena! Remember this! There's no disqualification in this match! He's getting Henry out! Look at it! Attitude adjustment! Oh, look at the strength of Henry! Went for the world's strongest slam. John Cena gets him up! Cena gets him up! On his shoulders! The attitude adjustment! Hook to the leg! Wow! John Cena! The big show! Cena's legal! 500-pound FU! 500! To Big Show! 2, 3, did it!
Hey, what can Cena do now?
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! John Cena! The FU! 500-pound man! Unbelievable!
You gotta stay away from that, John.
Oh my God! Cena! Look at the strength of John Cena! Can Cena exit?
Except for that 8 million times where he's done it before, including Mark Henry at least 3 or 4 times. I mean, that's the story now. It's, oh my God, can John Cena AA Mark Henry? I'll answer the question for you. Yes. It's times like this where it's like, wow, the WWE really does expect us to have no memory of their product. It's amazing how they do that sometimes. And Mark Henry has basically controlled this whole feud, so obviously Cena's going to win. We know that. I'd rather they kept the ball rolling on that epic promo that Mark Henry cut, and maybe even have him say, win, lose, or draw, I'm going to retire after Money in the Bank, which would make the outcome obvious, but it's fucking Cena anyway, so I mean, he wins 95% of the time as it fucking is, so who gives a fuck? Just something a little bit more meaty than the typical. It's really gone back to, after that Henry promo, it's really gone back to Cena versus the Monster, and it's like, yeah, I know how this is going to go. I know how this shit works. But whatever. Cena's going to win, and I will groan, and that's just the way it is. I did, actually, a match I forgot. I forgot Ryback versus Chris Jericho. Ryback's probably going to win, I would think. His first real pay-per-view win since he's been pushed into working with regular upper-card talents. That's it. That's all I gotta say about it. And then we have the match that I'm most interested in going into this pay-per-view. They're calling it the All-Star Money in the Bank ladder match, which I don't know why they're calling it that. Some people say it's because of All-Star Weekend for baseball, but like, really? That's why would they? But whatever. I'm nitpicking. Yeah, that's the match. It'll be CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Sheamus versus Christian. Forgetting one. Oh, Rob Van Dam's coming back. I forget that. Rob Van Dam, he's coming back into this match. And the seventh one is Kane, though he might be taken out of it. I don't know, given the beatdown he took from the Wyatts. It'd be really interesting if they took Kane out and they put Shelton Benjamin in there. That'd be really cool, because Shelton Benjamin was kind of the king of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Even though he never won, he was always the guy that would do the crazy spot in the match. I'm convinced that he kept his job in WWE as long as he did, because it was like, fuck, we need him to do those psycho spots in Money in the Bank. And so it was like Money in the Bank, he really helped get over that Money in the Bank as a match where you're going to see a lot of crazy, crazy daredevil spots. So, this Sunday, it'd be really cool if you get ready for this match. Kane's out of it, and then all of a sudden you hear, "Ain't no stopping me now!" And just bring back Shelton Benjamin. Sure, why not? But there are several aspects to this match that I do want to talk about. Number one is Rob Van Dam's return. That's something that's been talked about, obviously, since the last pay-per-view where they started showing vignettes that he's coming back. And as I've said before, I'm not against this move, bringing Rob Van Dam back. I think it could be a nice little thing to do, get a few big matches out of him or whatever. I'm not overly excited for it because, Rob Van Dam is a guy I feel like I've seen him at his best. And I've never been like the biggest Rob Van Dam guy. I never disliked him. I appreciated his psycho spots and everything, and he was always cool and had a cool look and everything. He was really cool in ECW and got over in the WWE. It was one of the few things about the invasion angle that I liked. But, as a worker, I never really liked him that much. To me, he was always just kind of a spot guy. Yeah, if you put him in there with somebody like a Jerry Lynn or an Eddie Guerrero or something like that, you'd probably get a good match out of him, but typically he was just kind of a spot guy. He would do some amazing daredevil spots, but they wouldn't always make sense. And that's he always needed either somebody to lead the dance, or he needed a gimmick, or something of that nature. So I was never a huge fan of Rob Van Dam as a worker to begin with. However, he is going to give you a nice highlight reel moments in his matches, and that's fine. But yeah, it's amazing how WWE, and I don't know if it's just because they own his video or his video history and all the footage from ECW and everything. But with those like highlight packages and everything, they've made Rob Van Dam look much more important than TNA ever did. TNA, he just looked like another guy, and I don't know if it's just their production or just, again, the fact that they basically own Rob Van Dam's career with all the video footage. But man, those vignettes are a lot cooler than anything Rob Van Dam ever did in TNA. So in this Money in the Bank match, I'm sure he's going to do something crazy, because he always does something crazy in this type of a match. But that'll be cool. I hope he doesn't win. I don't think there's any reason to have him win, and that'll actually lead me into something that I really wanted to talk about, and that's Daniel Bryan winning this match. I am going to pick Daniel Bryan to win this match, and I think it would be stupid if he didn't, because you have CM Punk in this match as well, and he's obviously a viable contender, but you have Brock Lesnar who could come out and screw him, and then you can do Punk and Lesnar at SummerSlam. Totally fine. I think Daniel Bryan absolutely needs to win this thing, and I know that the WWE kind of has this habit. And I'll use last year's Royal Rumble as an example. Royal Rumble 2012. Chris Jericho, to me, should have won that match. To me, it would have made more sense. You could have started the build-up in his match with Punk, make that feel like a big match from the get-go, as opposed to just setting it up the Raw after Elimination Chamber, and Chris Jericho just kind of gets the title shot because... well, he didn't get pinned in the Elimination Chamber match, and he's mad at Punk, so that's enough to get him a title shot. Which, I hate that. That whole, like, I'm mad at you, so I get a title shot. I've never liked that. But I would have given Jericho the win in the Rumble, get him off to a big start, actually pay off the storyline with his return, and him saying that the world is about to change as you know it. Which to me was the selling point, the deciding factor of me checking out the Royal Rumble that year. I ordered the pay-per-view, Sheamus wins the fucking Rumble, and there's no payoff to it at all whatsoever. And it's like, well, motherfucker. But, you know, in WWE's mind, in Vince's mind probably, he's thinking, well, I'm going to do Jericho and Punk. I can set up that match using Jericho's already inherent, his name and his star value. I can use that to set that up, and I can have Sheamus win the Rumble, and that'll build him up to this match with Bryan that I want to do. And that way I have two stars with two, you know, bigger than usual matches, even though nobody really gave a shit about Sheamus and Daniel Bryan. I mean, going into that WrestleMania, I'm not talking about after the show itself when we saw that the match was 18 seconds. Nobody really cared about that match, except for... if you were a Daniel Bryan mark, or if you were an 8-year-old boy who was a Sheamus mark. You probably didn't care too much about that match other than that, if you were a fan of one of the guys. They didn't do anything with it. They just thought, oh, well, we'll give Sheamus the Royal Rumble win, and that's all that matters. And we can do other things with Punk and Jericho along the way. And it's kind of, instead of having this one big match with Jericho and Punk and building that up all the way up here, you kind of have these two matches, like Punk and Jericho's a little higher, and then Daniel Bryan and Sheamus, and they're kind of like meandering in the middle here. Well, you could have just taken that one match that nobody was going to give a fuck about anyway and just build up Jericho and Punk up to this level and start from the Royal Rumble and just build on forward from there. They could very well do that here with Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam, where I think he absolutely should win the Money in the Bank, announce that he's going to face Cena at SummerSlam. There you go, bing, bang, boom, build up to that point. You've already built Bryan up to this point very well, I might add. Pay it off with him winning the Money in the Bank, and then have him face Cena at SummerSlam. My fear is that they'll have somebody else win the Money in the Bank, and then Daniel Bryan, because they've already built him up to this point, they'll just have him win a contenders match on Raw the next night, and they'll set up the SummerSlam match, and whoever won the briefcase will cash it in at some other point in some shock title win that nobody will give a fuck about. But they could very well do that, and I hope they don't, because we are all expecting Daniel Bryan to win, but we want him to win because they've done a great job establishing a character that we like. I mean, they've stumbled a little bit with some of his antics, a little bit. But for the most part, they built him up well to this point. He's gotten clean wins over Sheamus, gotten clean wins over Randy Orton. He overcame his fixation with being the weak link of Team Hell No. That was paid off with the win over Orton. And now it's time to take him to that next level, win the Money in the Bank, and then he uses the Money in the Bank and to prove that he is the best, he challenges John Cena at SummerSlam. That's how they should pay that off, and that's how they should do that. And I think not having him win the Money in the Bank would be a mistake at this point. And my other fear, somebody brought this up to me earlier today, if Bryan wins the Money in the Bank and then cashes in after the main event at SummerSlam, like let's say the main event is Cena versus Ryback versus Mark Henry in a triple threat. I had that idea thrown at me, which I'm like, oh God, please don't do that. Cena wins, of course, and then Flight of the Valkyries or whatever that song's called plays. Daniel Bryan runs out, cash in the Money in the Bank, and wins in the main event at SummerSlam doing the shot cash in. If they did that, I would feel cheated because, again, I'm invested in this Daniel Bryan character. I want him to have that big match against Cena to prove that he's better than Cena. I don't want him to win it in this cheap-ass Money in the Bank way, which, quite honestly, is played out, boring, and you can use the briefcase to build up a big title match. So I wouldn't do it that way. I would have Daniel Bryan win the briefcase, announce that he's going to challenge Cena at SummerSlam, do the big money match, and hopefully Daniel Bryan would win the title from that point on. And just make it as big as possible. Build it up to here. Don't kind of meander around and kind of think oh well, I can give the Money in the Bank briefcase to this guy and keep him around here. Daniel Bryan, I'll knock him down a peg or two, but it'll be all right. And just kind of bumblefuck your way. It's 50-50 booking basically, which, as you all know if you watch my videos, I hate 50-50 booking. You've built this character up, just run all the way with it, pull the trigger, and go. That's what you should do. And start using the Money in the Bank to build up big title matches instead of using it as an excuse to shock us with a title change. Because, again, that's really getting played out. And, that's basically my feelings on it. I'm really looking forward to that ladder match. I hope to God that Daniel Bryan wins. I'm thinking he's going to win. The only thing that makes me think he's not going to win is the fact that it's so obvious that I'm like, will they do it? Because, they've done things like that before. So, part of that Russo mindset that I love so much. But that's really all I have to say. I am going to check out Money in the Bank. Hopefully it's a really good pay-per-view. Hopefully they give me the result I want in the All-Star Money in the Bank ladder match. And I do feel that match should close the pay-per-view because it is the most interesting match, what with Rob Van Dam's return, CM Punk's involvement with Lesnar, which I'm sure is going to tie into it, and Bryan possibly getting the big win in Philadelphia where, the Smart Mark crowd is going to go nuts for him. I absolutely would close with that because I don't think anything could follow it. That's my feelings on the matter. So that's Money in the Bank. It's not a terrible card. Once again, WWE, they actually had a full card set a week before. Okay, I'm talking about this on Thursday, the week of the show. They had this card fully set last week. So it's like, oh my God, somebody has gotten their head out of somebody's ass, and they're actually putting full cards together now. No bonus match crap or anything like that. So really impressive work. I appreciate effort. Effort is always nice. I will applaud effort. They've got a lot of good things going right now with the Wyatt family, the Shield, CM Punk and Lesnar, Daniel Bryan's possible rise to the top. So there's some stuff to look forward to right now. And hopefully they do it all well at Money in the Bank this weekend. But that's all I have for now. My next video probably won't be until next week because it'll probably be my Money in the Bank review. So be on the lookout for that. Until then, you all have a good one.